Happy Valentine's Day. In case you haven't noticed, my shirt has little, heart shapes in there. That's my way of celebrating Valentine's Day. Welcome aboard the news review segment. Kojo and I are here to steer the conversations, and our guest this morning in studio is Andrew Appiah Dankwa. He's a legal practitioner and spokesperson for Movements for Change. In the course of our conversation, when other guests join us, we introduce them to you. Good morning and welcome to the program, Appiah Dankwa.
Good morning, Shri. Happy Valentine's Day. I can see.
Yes, thank you. I just had to point it out, Kojo. And Kojo has little red stripes in his.
It appears better on TV.
Yeah, it
does. But I'm a nice boy on TV.
Kojo is pretending to be celebrating Valentine's Day.
Just say.
It's all pretending.
I was expecting some red in your outfit or something. Yeah.
In fact, I have a red hat.
Well, that settles it.
My hat is red.
Right.
I'm an ardent Asante Kotoko supporter. Also.
Who supported Team Papa?
Yeah.
Do you add Manchester to it or which one?
No, me. I don't support teams that wear faded red shit.
Hey, let's get into your thoughts for us this morning.
Liverpool, correct red.
They will come for you. I'm telling you.
Who?
Manchester United.
No, I'll come for them.
No. But I mean, Liverpool crowd there. Okay, we would allow you because at least you also have some sort of achievement.
6 times. We've won it 6
times.
We've won it 6
Champions League.
Yeah, 6 times.
No problem. But the proper red is us.
No, faded red.
Red Devils.
Faded.
Okay, gentlemen.
Today we'll go with Kotoko.
Okay, Let's settle on Kotoko and get into your thoughts more. There's so much happening in the country. Press conferences, committees being set up here and there. What are you reflecting on this morning? Yeah,
in fact, certainly I can't reflect beyond anything. In fact, sorry, let me wish your viewers a good one. I think I was caught up in this whole Valentine red business. So good morning to your lovely viewers. This week has been heavy for democracy. In fact, positively heavy in terms of the kind of discussions we've been having. As in, some of us have been advocating for a democracy that builds the right political culture, a culture that can sustain it, and one of it being a culture that holds political leadership accountable. I think over the past week, that sense of accountability has come to the fore with everything that has been happening. In my view, there are a lot of positives, a few negatives in terms of the procedural issues. But having said that, I think the issue that came to the fore for me, and I think it's worth reflecting over, is the debate that happened in Parliament, especially when certain members of the minority seemed to be making comments that seem to suggest that the political class, for want of a better word, owed it to themselves to protect each other. And one phrase that I felt very uncomfortable with the phrase that the minority in particular made, that today it could be you, tomorrow, and within the context of, in my view, within the context of the act that stated the accountability. So when you say it could be me today, tomorrow, or tomorrow it could be you, I think that it could be you abusing the powers that we give you to state the kind of discourse that's happening. So they were looking at it from tomorrow you could be arrested. You understand? But you don't have control over the consequences of your acts. What you have control over is your actions. And so when you say today it could be you, in my honest view, what they have control over is actions that will state whether you be arrested or you be called a fugitive or not, whether it's right, whether it's wrong. So for me, I think it's important that our politicians, the political class, realize the provisions of Article 1 of our Constitution. That says that they are going to use the powers that we give them, for our benefit, not for their benefit. So all the powers that they are wielding, those powers emanate from us. And the reason why we give them those powers is not because they are handsome or they are powerful, or no, we give them those powers for our benefit, and they must always reflect on that. And to that light, I must commend the majority speaker for his comments on
majority leader. You mean?
Yeah, majority.
Majority.
Thank you very much, majority leader. Yeah.
But on that score, weren't they referring to the raid on the house to say that, I mean, you don't barge into someone's home in that manner, even if he has wronged the state? Weren't they referring to that instead?
No. So, you see, you communicate. You are the communication experts. You communicate, but well, for me, how I interpreted it, and I think they ought to have a broader understanding, taking into consideration the context of what was happening. We give you power not to act in impunity. We give you power not to advance your parochial interests. We give you power so you advance the collective agenda of the state. So that where steps are being taken to hold a holder of political power accountable, I don't think the right argument to making is just or give an impression that your focus is protecting the political class as against ensuring that you use the powers that we give you for the purpose. Exactly. So, but having said that, I think this week has been a week of accountability. Okay. This week has been a week where the politicians suddenly realize that, listen, the day of reckoning will come. You understand? And we will have a discussion on the procedural issues, whether they are right, whether they are wrong. A lot of allegations have been made back and forth. The OSP himself is saying that he's not aware and he's not responsible for the Rambo style raid. But I think the most critical thing, in my opinion, is the fact that at least the people of Ghana have spoken. That where we give power to you and where you use those powers, that day of reckoning will come.
Is it not a case of out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh? Because this is not new to us. In fact, let me take you just recently to those disparaging comments that someone made about Dr. Zaneta Rawlings. Yeah. And, you know, the narrative suggests that they know among themselves who actually said it. You can't tell me that someone just says something and all the parliamentarians there couldn't tell or hear who said it. But up till now, do we know anything, any punitive action? Because they protect themselves. So that argument the minority was making, is it not just out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaking, saying that this is what we do, we protect ourselves. So don't come for us this way, because tomorrow you'll be on the other side.
I think the Spirit is speaking through you. I share exactly that view, and it's very concerning. Because people we give our powers to also ought to reflect our values, the values of people. So and they must understand the purpose for which those powers were granted them. Because I can't believe that an MP could say the kind of things he said to, and the fact that you really put the protected.
They do.
So for me, this week, there are so many issues, but I want to focus on the little steps we are taking towards making our politicians realize that in how they use their powers, they'll be held accountable, and that day of reckoning will come. For me, we are watching them, because this is not the first time we've seen it when government change, and I hope it's not something to represent something, and that there'll be real commitment at exerting accountability.
All right. Let's usher in Osajifo Kwame Nkrumah Botsio, legal practitioner and General Secretary of the CPP, into the conversation. Kwame Nkrumah, welcome. You are the only one who's doing it properly.
Well, I see your hat.
No, you are doing it properly.
And the man who carries the names of some two prominent founding fathers.
Yes, all combined. You're a very powerful man. Well, I'm sure you've been following the news or stories that are making the airwaves. What would be your reflection this morning?
You know, there's a lot of things going on with regards to accountability. And today, I just want to deviate a bit and say that in the spirit of the season, we should let love lead in all our deliberations. Let's love our country. Let's allow ourselves to be held accountable. At the same time, let's love our fellow man. Let's not try and go overboard because we have power now. And those who used to have power too, they should try and be held accountable. And in that spirit, if you allow me to also wish a happy Valentine to all Ghanaians. We should let love lead, and also to the First Lady, the Vice President, the Chief Justice, the Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, my lovely wife, Afrakoma, my mother-in-law, and all of you here. I see you're all dressed, ready for your dates after this program.
Anyway.
So basically, I have been following it about the former minister being declared fugitive and all that. And I think in exercising it is good to exercise our powers. It is also good to be held accountable. But we should hold that delicate balance, because I heard people making arguments that in the past administration this was done to this person, cars were seized. No. It is not tit for tat. Otherwise, where does the cycle end?
Okay. Well, thank you. Let's get into the papers. Do you want to start, or should I?
Yes, I have the Daily Graphic newspaper, and it ties in with, there's a story here that talks about what we're discussing. The political class must hold itself accountable. That's according to the majority leader. You cited that. Committee probes recruitment into security agencies. Agric Ministry rolls out irrigation for wealth creation in 8 regions. That's my story for the day, but I'll leave it to you. And Car Power threatens shut down over $370 million debt. So 4 stories in the graphic news graphic. But let's start with, I think, the Agric Ministry. Now, this is a country where we've said Agric is the backbone of our economy. So many years ago, I read about the irrigation schemes that Nkrumah developed. That, I mean, those were on paper. They were not able to implement all of them. But we haven't really done enough when it comes to irrigating, or turning our agriculture into one that is irrigation-fed rather than rain-fed. What do you make of this? And how do we ensure that we really get the best out of it, taking into cognizance the 1D, where the one village, one dam policy that the Esra government?
I think we should look at the irrigation. Let's forget about the 1D, one dam.
How can we just forget about it?
No, I want to forget within the context of this discussion. In fact, Agric is the backbone of human existence. As in, when you go further into history and you are analyzing human history, one of the most important revolutions ever had was the Agric Revolution. And then we also know how the Industrial Revolution aided or even expanded or boomed the ability of man to produce food for survival and also for the for industry. So I think Agric being, or Agric, the idea that Agric ought to be the backbone of our economy of the country is beyond contestation. It's sad that for more than 2 generations of the existence of this country, we've limited Agric to subsistence. We've never managed to break the yoke of the business side of Agric, because Agric can also create jobs and create wealth.
Yeah,
you understand? And our inability to crack the code, for want of a better word, is our inability to find a way around the limitations of our seasons. You understand? Because of our inability to irrigate largely the Agric sector, you have issues where what's called producer in season, out of season.
Yeah.
What irrigation does is that it affords you the opportunity of growing
all year round.
You understand? So if the government has made it one of their priority areas, it is to be commended. I think the bigger issue is how do they intend to do it.
That is why I was asking in relation to the one village, one dam, because this one, he has tasked the regional ministers to look for 10,000 hectares of land.
Yeah.
So they are going to get it, and then they would ensure that they construct these dams. Yeah. But if we know our past, then it serves as a guide. So how do we ensure that we don't fall into the same corner?
So the reason we should forget was because I believe that it was a statement made to aid some people to get power. Absolutely no commitment. 8 years you can't.
Oh, but they paid money to some people to go and dig some places, and we thought they were constructing those dams.
And as I said, it was something to get power, no commitment. 8 years, no dam. As I said, so OSP, he should look into. The OSP should look into it. But I don't want to. Kwame Nkrumah it's a day of love. So,
yes.
So let me just respect OSP. Look there. But the question is how will government do this? Personally, I think it should be private sector driven. Government must find a way of incentivizing the private sector players in the Agric space to explore these avenues. Government itself can also, as in create some dams. But for me, I feel that really it ought to be a private sector driven agenda, aided by government. Because if you allow government to handle it like it was, then it will be another case of what's called doing something to represent something. Myself, I've attempted agric some years past, and I know that where there's a right incentive from government, serious people who are doing agric will always find a way of irrigating. But it's about the cost. It boils down to the financing and all. And so, if government can find a way of granting serious incentives, if government can fall on the PPP, you understand, then government, together with the private sector, can irrigate massively, and then we can explore, we can maximize the benefits of agri. But trust me, if you leave it to just government, you understand, if we think that it's just government that ought to irrigate, I'm very confident that it will be another case of the past 8 years. All what government needs to do is to create that right environment, use its fiscal power to create the right incentives, and allow private sector to capitalize on that, to then use irrigation as a means of blowing up the whole agri.
But Boto, I know of a private investor who has invested so much into constructing his own dam.
Yeah.
And he now has about, I think, is it 10,000 acres or so of rice.
Yeah.
And he says that, look, I'm not in a hurry. I mean, $60 million pumped into the whole setup. I have time to allow it to grow within the next 5 years. Taking it from where he left off, that we need to just allow the private sector to lead.
Yeah.
Should that be the focus? Because from this story, government is even looking for the land already. So it looks as though government is thinking about me using the state funds into it. But will you agree with him that government should probably rely or partner the private sector in doing this?
I agree with him perfectly. I agree with him. And I have a bit of experience. I know quite a few private individuals who are also practicing this kind of irrigation. I mean, some have dug boreholes on their mango farms and all that. And it's serving them very well. And I think the government should help them. When I was coming, I was listening to the program, and I heard Honorable Eric Opoku, the Agric Minister, talking about Feed Ghana.
Yeah.
And how they're going to encourage the secondary schools. I mean, when we were in school, we went to the same school, our school farm was very, very active. And we could feed the school with a school farm. The school farm is non-existent. We don't have it anymore. There are a lot of other schools which have large tracts of land. For my national service, I taught at Jirapa Secondary School. And during the rainy season, I mean, I was amazed. As an Accra boy, some of my students, they used to, let's say all the students, they will come to class with their hoe and everything. And even the school itself was turned into a farm. I mean, when the rains came, and then when the harvest came, I mean, you'll be amazed. The harvest it blew my mind. There was so much food. The people were giving it away. And even when you wanted to buy, it was so cheap. And this is outside Accra. So I asked them, why don't you send some of these things to Accra? They said, transportation is a problem. The bad roads. So the food is already there. The land is already there. And I would commend former President Kufuor. That was a HIPIC era. Initially, I was against HIPIC. I was like, it's an embarrassment to be declared heavily indebted. But coincidentally, that was my national service year. And driving from Accra all the way to Jirapa, that time was about 17 and a half hours because of the bad nature of the Bole Bamboy Road. I gradually, over those months, I could see what HIPIC was doing. I could see the dams that were built from Wa all the way to Jirapa through Nadoli and Kalio and all those places. It does work. I saw it firsthand in 2004. It did work in the Upper West region. It will work. The government should go according to the plan that they want to do. They should build the dams, but they should make sure they put it in the hands of the local people and give them the necessary tools to farm. It has been done before. I saw it in 2004. It can be done again. And then I think we have far better roads now, so we can have the food come to the local area. So it can be done. It can be done.
When you say it can be done, I remember a time, I didn't actually live through it, but I read about how, I think it was a Champon's time.
Yes.
We were so food sufficient that we could even export. Operation Feed Yourself, yes. That we could, I don't know how many of you lived through that. I wasn't.
I wasn't around. But
as a young person living in this country today, sometimes I get surprised that in 2025, we're having conversations about how do we revive our agri sector, because we're coming from a place where it actually was done, and then I don't know what happened, sort of a dip, and then here we are again, and then 8 years, one district, one factory, one dam, one village, whatever, and we don't really see those, policies and ideas coming to fruition. And I know that John Mahama has promised farmer services centers and all that, trying to revamp the agri sector. I think that we should actually go back to the drawing board, go back and review what Ichampon did right, what caused us to dip, even after we made such huge successes, before we start talking about revamping anything. If we sit down and say we're going to just brainstorm and come up with new ideas, listen, you don't change the winning strategy. And there's no new idea, nothing new on this under the sun, I, for one, am excited that Deputy Minister Designate is someone who's actually a farmer, someone who actually understands the agri sector. So I'm just saying all this to make the point that it's not only about reviewing and asking for fine lands. The lands are there. We will find it. Go back to the drawing board. Go back and review what they did right, because we have it. History can show us what we did right. It's not about rhetorics and fine land and SHS. Do it.
For those of us who studied agri, because I did agri senior high school, I did senior secondary school, and then I went to the university to pursue agric as well. One thing that runs through, and we still talk about challenges now: poor road network, poor infrastructure, no storage, lack of irrigation.
Same.
We've spoken about this long ago. We have not been able to solve it. So maybe it's time we start to put action to the words we speak, because agric, like you say, I'm currently so involved in agric, and I see the monies that farmers, not subsistence, the large-scale farming, the monies people are making. If I tell you someone's net worth or the net income in a month from agric alone, you'll be shocked. So agric is like we call it the green gold. The potential agric has to create wealthy people in Ghana is huge. The only thing we need is the enabling environment, and that's what government should do. And I'm happy that they want to do this. I pray, like you said, that they will get the right way to do it. Is it private sector? Is it like Kufuor did? But when you do it, who manages it? We are in a country where if it belongs to government, what's Abanaze? Onsuya Uchunaze. So you see that we mismanage anything government anyhow. So once the minister wants to do this, I think it is great, because the reason why people are not getting enough money from agric is because you have to wait for the rains. The reason my company is making the money from agric is because we have irrigation systems. We are on the irrigated land. If you go to Dawenya, I went to Dawenya and I was wow. I was like, wow. Big river, is that a river or lake? And it's feeding land there. People are growing crops all year round. So this can be the game changer. Like we saw with One Village, One Dam. If government can say that we are not going to play lip service to agric any longer, then agric can help us solve these employment issues because one company can employ between 100 and 500 workers. Imagine we have 1,000 of such companies times 500 is how much? That's a lot, So I pray that we are able to do it. And like you've all advised, I hope the minister is listening and he will take it to the...
Well, unfortunately, the minister was talking about involving the private sector. And he even specifically mentioned, he said, journalists, everybody is going to be assisted. Everybody wants to go into farming. And it seemed he was even veering into the arena of backyard farming, as in everybody should be able to.
Yeah.
So I believe that they are going according to the Operation Feed Yourself blueprint.
I think the president mentioned it.
Okay.
Yes.
That would engage in home gardening.
Yeah, exactly.
And when they mentioned home gardening, there's one lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Aka, Dr. Aka.
Okay.
He was part of their manifesto committee on agriculture.
Okay.
And he is a trailblazer in home gardening.
Yeah.
So when the president mentioned it, I was like, it's a guy's thing.
And it's a good thing. I have a backyard garden.
Okay.
I mean, and it serves very well.
When you think about how we import tomatoes
Mm.
from Burkina Faso, sometimes it's so sad, eh?
Yeah.
Because tomatoes will grow anyway. In fact, if it's not intentional, you can just throw the seeds or the waste, and it will grow right behind you. But we import tomatoes.
Yeah.
That's how serious it is.
And Ghana, sometimes you realize that even on buildings, crops grow.
Yeah, it's true.
So, tomatoes, pepper, you can see growing on.
Growing on the wall.
Anyway.
So let's see. But another story that is of interest to us is or should be of interest to us, is the car power threat to shut down over $317 million debt. Now, yesterday I slept in darkness for some time. It went off around 6 and came back around, I think, 11 p.m. or so. Yeah. Now, the operators of car power ship located at Abuadze in the western region have notified the government that it will not be able to continue the supply of power if the debt owed its company is not settled immediately. The company's representative made this known at a meeting between the Minister of Energy and Green Transitions, John Abdullahi Janapo, and officials of the car power ship barge at the ministry in Accra last Monday. What do we need to do? How do we solve all of this?
The same issue. You see, interestingly, the problems in this country, take the agri sector, take energy sector, you take, in fact, almost every sector. The facts of the issues may be different, but the problem is one: lack of commitment, clear lack of commitment, clear lack of integrity. Because, like you were saying, in the agri issue, the issue isn't about we not knowing the problem. We all know the problem. In fact, we also know the solution.
Yeah, I agree.
The problem is, do we have the commitment to carry out? Because was it not sometime in 2018 where they did the energy sector recovery program? Very comprehensive program, as it outlined the problems, outlined solutions, and projected that if they carried it through by 2023, our energy sector will be economically viable. 2018. So why are we discussing these issues today? You get a picture. Listen, I heard the minister has spoken to them. They've had some payment terms. These are no long talk. The solutions, they should just go and take the energy sector recovery program and show a little bit of commitment, fidelity to the solutions that we all know. So I've heard he's talking about privatizing the ECG, because the problem is one of financing. Every year, we are unable to collect up to about $280 million of electricity that has been sold to us. And you see, then government is being unfair to us, the private sector, because we pre-buy our electricity. It's not as if, so you said you slept in darkness. But I bet you have already paid for the electricity. You see,
yes, I have.
So it's prepaid. So you pay for it before you use it. And so why are you not able to use it?
Because the company says government should compel ECG to clear the accumulated invoices presented to it immediately.
Yeah. Meanwhile, ECG takes our monies before they supply us the electricity. Yeah. So if you think about it, then there shouldn't be an issue. But we are not. It's not only the private sector who use the energy, the ministries, the agencies. They also use and pay the energy sector recovery program in every year. Out of the 180 million debts, the ministries, department agencies contribute 150 million. So it's a clear case of the government once again doing we the private people in. So listen, government, we just say that they should always be mindful of Article 1 of our Constitution, that we give them powers for them to use for our benefit. But it seems Ghana, the government is stifling the progress of its people. You understand? And that was it. Or if you can take all the issues, and it's just one issue. The issue being one of commitment, one of lack of integrity. So I call on the new leadership. We are resetting Ghana. They should reset it also in terms of the commitment. We don't want any long talk. We all know what the problems are. And I think we fairly also know what the solutions are. They should just be committed to applying themselves, applying integrity, and keeping their mind on the purpose for which we give them the power. And just do it. You understand? So the Minister says he's speaking with them. They've agreed on some payment terms. So don't be any energy crisis. I just pray that he's saying all the right things about the issue with the ECG, because that's the issue. We'll find a solution there that will ensure that energy sector comes with some form of financial viability ASAP. Because once the energy is gone, then what are we going to do?
Well, both on the part where ECG comes in, I'm aware government has started a stakeholder engagement into determining whether ECG should be privatized, and if it should, what form it should take. Can that solve the challenges? Because this company says, compel ECG to pay us. It means that ECG is the problem. If ECG had paid them, then they wouldn't be threatening of shutting down.
I think the privatization will work because we've practiced this model for a long time. We tried PDS to a certain extent. It didn't really work. PDS seemed to have a monopoly. All kinds of things happen. If you look at other jurisdictions in the UK and other places, they have a number of different private companies managing their electricity. And they seem to have a system that works well. So I think this privatization will work, especially as my brother said, 150 million out of the 180 million is the government sector itself. So if you have the government running everything, chasing them for that money will not be so effective. But if it's in the hands of a number of private sector operators, and not just one, as we had in PDS, you have a number of private sector operators, I'm sure it will work. And then it also comes back to the issue of accountability. Because sometimes we draw up the terms of settlement. Once it's signed, we get some relief, and then we go and sleep. The accountability should be day to day. It's not a matter of waiting for things to collapse and then you come and do name and shame. In Ghana, when we say accountability, it's just about name and shame. This person has done, this person has done, you should come and... No. Accountability is what happens in the back office. You have your statistics. You have your graphs. Where are we with this? And you make it available to the public for us to know even how much you've paid. You know, there's lack of information on these things. So we are not able to have an academic and progressive conversation. It's always a political, acrimonious conversation. And that will not get us anywhere.
Okay.
But a lot of people have made very good contributions. On my way here, I was listening to the station, and there was one gentleman who's a tax expert, tax consultant. He was stating that we should look at the tax exemptions and we should try and cut down, because as high as 4% of GDP goes into tax exemptions. We should take a very, very close look at that. And also about cutting costs, because this is it 370 million?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's an issue of the money not being there. Other times it's an issue of the money coming and being mismanaged.
Or diverted.
Or diverted. You see? So,
and really, the shortfalls because of inflation and the rest. You know, we are collecting revenue in CDs, but we are buying fuel and other things in dollars. So that also, that's in fact, I think that's the biggest problem we have.
That's true.
Yeah.
But also under collection.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and
massive under collection.
losses.
Yes.
System losses. Last time I was telling some people, in 2022, they quoted the system losses to be 2.4 billion. In 2023, 2.04 billion. Where we boldly report losses and nothing has been done to cure it.
Exactly.
The lack of commitment, I'm saying. They know the problems.
Yeah. But fortunately, with the direction His Excellency is going now, even as regards the independence celebrations, cutting down on it and saving 15 million Ghana cedis. Somebody will say, what is 50 million Ghana cedis compared to $270 million? But it's a lot of money that can make a difference. So I believe that there are good things ahead of us. I think privatizing it will work with the necessary accountability. It will work. Yeah.
Okay. We have a lot of paper. I don't know how long we're going for. So let's do some. Well, let me get into the Ghanaian Times quickly, and then I'll come to you. Public expressed mixed reactions over cancellation of Grand Independence Day celebration. You were just talking about that. Government sets up committee to review security service recruitment to eliminate partisanship. And minority unhappy over growing trend of political witch hunt. Ghana faces imminent power crisis at, the same story. GAPOA threatens shutdown over $370 million debt. The public's reaction, mixed reaction over the cancellation of the Grand Independence Day celebration is an interesting one for me. I know that some people are unhappy because they're thinking about, it's also a great day for businesses. When we go to the Independence Square, small and medium scale businesses, they have, they sell and offer some services that will be making some money. Students are looking forward to marching and all that. But the government's decision for the cancellation of grand observance of Ghana Independence Day anniversary has attracted various comments from the public. Minister of State in charge of government communication, I'm trying to look at some of the reactions. Others are worried that it will take away the unity and patriotism that the memorial event instilled in the people, particularly the youth. I don't think it takes anything out, but if that's, everyone is entitled to the opinion. If you look at the money involved in terms of what you were just saying, I think that it's important that if we say we are resetting, right now it's not about NDC and NPP. We are under the resetting Ghana agenda. That is what the current administration is practicing. So if this is how they cut down some costs, I'm all for it. And then government set up committee to review security service recruitment to eliminate partisanship. This is a story I want to throw to you, gentlemen, because we know that partisanship in our recruitment, in terms of security services, is a big deal. That story, they say, is on page 12, but somehow I can't find page 12. Right, let's move on to others. Here it is. Yeah. So a 7-member committee has been established to review recruitment processes in various security services, aiming to ensure fairness and transparency while eliminating partisanship political affiliations that have characterized past recruitment. And composed of seasoned professionals with extensive experience in security administration, public service, and legal experts, chaired by Mr. Yao Akrasi-Sapong. And the question I want to ask this morning is, can we indeed remove partisanship from our recruitment into security services? Is it doable?
Oh, in fact, you made reference to the Champion Days.
Yeah.
That during the Champion Days, we could farm, we could. Yes, I think we are fairly older than 97 year old friends. This whole issue of recruitment into the agency and the skill to which it went to, in my view, came to the fore over the past 8 years. One of the biggest things that was done, to the extent that they became so confident and they were using it as a campaign message.
In fact, during the vetting, Apenyoma came to, was it Okujeto Ablakwa or Sam George, one of them, about how, because I'm pressing you, the protocol. I mean, can we really say that there will be a time in this country where recruitment into security services will be partisan?
There was a time when it wasn't partisan. It has really? There was a time when it wasn't partisan. You see, you can't take away 100% the non-partisan constitution. It's about legacy. In the old schools. So you have a situation where in the old schools, they always reserve about 5% of recruitment to old boys. So it's impossible to say that 100% there won't be no partisan consideration. But it should be so minimal, as in the ratio of recruitment based on merit.
Exactly.
As against the protocol.
No, I was even going to say that even the one that is done through protocol should also be
on merit. Exactly.
Yes. Protocol anyway. But this person qualifies. It's not like he or she doesn't qualify, but because I have the protocol, I'm pushing him there.
Exactly. Because over the past 8 years, that was saying, it was the system became so depraved. And see, one fundamental problem that must also be dealt with. So people we begin are poised to have failed to create a system where jobs will be created. So there are no jobs in the system. And obviously, when there are no jobs, there will be pressure from the party people, from the people. And then you always find, so not just the security, but you go to GNPC, you go to Bank of Ghana, you go to these things, and the sheer numbers and their output is unbelievable. You understand? So yes, I think it's early days yet, but my confidence level, so far as real leadership with this government is concerned, I wouldn't say it's up the roof, but it's really not because even just this discussion.
Yeah.
It's a bold.
Yes, just this discussion that listen, we've won. We are a partisan. We are partisan. We've won. But listen, let's have a discussion on reducing the extent to which our recruitment are based on partisan consideration as against merit. That's a massive step. It's a massive step that we must all be interested in, especially in this reset mind. Yeah, I understand. It's not just the security agencies. Let us create a culture that is based on merit. Because we are building a nation. You understand? As against, and so right now I have a situation where, I was part of the people, it was during that time that we formed TESCON.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. As in, my own brother Solomon Owusu was one of the people who were at the forefront of establishing TESCON.
Okay.
And yet, 2-3 years ago, Solo and myself were asked by Alan to go represent him at the TESCON, and we couldn't believe it. Because when we were leading, when we were in TESCON in those days, it was just pure platform for patriotic discussion. When we went there, it was like a full-blown political rally. We couldn't believe it. The students, but why would the students, when they go to school, want to quickly join TESCON? Because they think that once they join TESCON, when their jobs are assured and they don't need to work hard, they don't need to prove themselves. We need a radical reset of our mentality. We need to make the people understand that, listen, things ought to be done on merit. We need to create a culture where we eschew or discourage mediocrity and push excellence. Because this is slot business. Slot. To the extent that the MPs, during the MP, they had their Kayonis to be campaigning on slots. When I come, I'll give you slots. So, you understand? That kills meritocracy, it kills a pursuit of excellence, and puts to the front mediocrity. So for me, I think it's a step in the right direction. It shouldn't just be the security agencies, but it should be all government agencies, so that together we build a people who will pursue excellence. Who expect that where they are excellent, then based on their merit, they will get what is their due.
I think it should be, the partisan recruitment should be banned totally. There shouldn't even be a quota. There shouldn't be a quota. Because when you have people, the security services is not like a secondary school or something. It's a very sensitive area. People can be victimized for speaking against belonging to a certain party. So it should be banned totally, and it should be codified. If there isn't any, I don't know the law governing it currently, but if there isn't any law against it, it should be codified that the recruitment into the security services should be based purely on merit. There should be no protocol involved. Maybe the only thing that you can look at aside merit is maybe regional balance, of sorts. That's the only thing. It's only regional balance. It should be banned totally. It should be codified so that there will not be this vague arena of protocol list. I mean, protocol list is necessary in some places. In a university, you can have lecturers being given some quota for their children or something, but this is a very sensitive area. It should be banned totally. That is the only solution. We should not
For me, I think the danger is that, once you're recruited based on partisan sympathies or affiliations, you are grateful to those who put you there. Therefore, when they come calling, you may just have to acquiesce to their demands because they put you there. And then before you realize, if someone is evil enough, they can weaponize the security services because they put you there. And they say, get up, go and arrest this man. You have no choice than to go.
But that's the goal behind the thing they do, right? That will push our men in there. And our men, once they are men and women, they do our bidding.
That's it.
When the time comes. So, I agree that we should make sure that we ban it. but maybe the regional thing could be the way to go.
Yes.
So in terms of maybe doing recruitment, you say that Western region, you are entitled to say 10, Central 10, Greater Accra, or maybe it could be on the size of the region. Greater Accra, you can say 10.
Yeah, of course.
So Greater Accra,
it's a smaller,
plenty that is. So Greater Accra can go like 50, you know, and then we put some standards. So it's also about standardization, right?
Yeah.
What kind of, character or what will qualify you into the security service?
Yeah.
First, we knew that height was one.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have a certain height, you were out. And that's why some of us didn't think about the military. Because we were taught that, Charlie, giants, the giant that go there.
Yeah.
So maybe we should start standardizing. So you pick it and know that, well, I have this, but I don't have that. I don't have that. Then when you apply, they can show it to you that, well, you don't have all the criteria, so you are disqualified.
You check yourself.
Exactly. But if you don't have it, and now it is left to somebody, an officer, who is supposed to determine who qualifies, then you leave the playing field uneven, such that I don't know whether I can get it. So I go and see this big man. Can you push me into the army? If this big man says, okay, I'll push you, and he takes me in there, he took me there. So he becomes the guy that I do favors for.
Yeah.
So I think that there has to be standards. It has to be communicated to us. Do you know the criteria for selecting people?
No, I don't know.
Do you know?
No.
Do you know? If all of us around this table don't know, then there's something wrong.
Maybe because we haven't gone to look for it. I mean, maybe the information is out there.
But why? People apply.
Yeah.
So it should be public knowledge.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, when we were growing up, we were told that as for military, you should be of a certain height. So it's the height I knew.
Yeah.
So height and possibly your educational background.
Yeah.
But are there things that someone who is willing to join the military should know? Is it the cadet corps that probably you should be a member of when you are in the senior high school or in the university? Because the universities also have security, those kind of things. Then you know that, okay, if I want to be a member of the security force, I should start preparing from this level. There were people I knew in the university who were part of the security of their halls. When I see them, I saw them in the military, I was like, oh, now these guys, they began long ago. And these were tall guys, well built.
Giants.
So they are, So if I see them there, I won't have any qualms. But I think we should standardize it.
I think Bishop was in the cadet.
No, I wasn't.
Well, I'll have you know that I was a cadet commander at some point.
Wow.
Yeah,
So maybe
time
we
flies.
could,
Yeah.
And maybe we can even look at the cadets in the school and recruit from there, because they would have had the basic training. Then you build on, because at that level, senior high school and university, the cadet is not politicized.
No, it's not.
It is out of your love
Interest,
for the thing and interest. So you go into it. So the security forces can go there and recruit from there.
Right.
But we are not security persons.
Yeah.
So
In fact, we have two lawyers here. So I want you to take a bite at this Ken Ofori-Atta, OSP, Attorney General, NPP argument, NDC argument, Parliament, all of it. I'm sure you followed because you are interested. This is your field. Is the OSP, the optics of what's the OSP doing, is it within the rights of those who think that it's a political witch hunt to think that way? Let me start with you, Appiah Danquah. The optics of how everything is happening and unfolding, the press conference, the letters that the lawyers wrote, the responses saying that he has no intention of returning to a jurisdiction. Now we know that he may actually be undergoing some surgery, and the rhetoric from the NPP and the NDC, all of it. Help us make sense of it.
Yeah, so once again, it's the politicians playing politics with fundamental issues that what is on accountability. Sadly, because I recall that when the previous regime, the previous president was pushing for this OSP idea, one of the arguments made why we need an OSP was to create a body who cannot be influenced by the politicians. That was the idea. But I find it interesting and very worrying that the offenses for which the OSP purportedly has called
a fugitive of justice.
Well, offenses that were done about 3 or 2 years ago. So why didn't he call him? Why didn't he attempt it 2 or 3 years ago?
This is you, a lawyer, asking this question.
Because one of the fundamental arguments made for why we needed an OSP was so that we have a body that would investigate and prosecute corruption-related issues devoid of any political influence.
Yeah.
And strangely, the OSP knew all these things that were happening. He did not have the courage to pursue Ken under the previous regime. And suddenly a new regime comes and the OSP has the courage. He can organize a press conference.
Make an educated guess and tell us.
I mean, I heard him say that even if his government were in power, they would have gone after him. He said,
but his government was in power. He had like 2 years.
He said he was investigating.
Come on. Even if he had 2 years to prove it.
See what he did there.
No, he had 2 years. He had 2 years. You understand?
Right.
So, and also I know they are making arguments, but right now, you see, you know the biggest problem we are going to have. We have an opposition, the biggest opposition party. We are both in opposition, but we are not. To be fair, we are not the biggest opposition.
Yeah.
The biggest opposition is the MPP. But you have a situation where the biggest opposition group has absolutely no credibility, have absolutely no moral grounds to stand on to be making the argument they are making.
They don't?
They do not, because you see...
Even raiding the home of the former finance minister in his absence.
So I'm not saying whether the raiding is right or wrong. I'm talking about they having the moral authority to grant any form of opposition. You see, because you see, the party is not the government. We are not running a parliamentary system. We are running a presidential system. So the party is not the government. And contrary to how they think, where the government is not doing, or the government that you have sponsored, and the thinking is that you sponsor somebody to be president, thinking that that person is going to deliver a governance system which aligns to your values. Mm-hmm. Now clearly, Nana Addo came and gave a governance which was adverse to the known values and principles of the MPP. Mm-hmm. And the MPP kept quiet. They couldn't talk. They were moving. As in, it was a case of the Empress new cloth. So they see the president and, how am I doing? Like, oh, you're doing fine. No, he was naked. And so what moral authority do they have now?
Are you sure that the NPP could not tell former president to
compare
to his face?
Oh, they could not. So you are failer than me.
But lawyer, in terms of how they raided his home, let's base on that. I mean, you are a lawyer. So I'm currently watching videos of how the whole thing was done, and I'm seeing somebody they describe as someone, in the image looks like Richard Jakpa. We've heard that name. What locus did he have in the current scheme of things to raid the home the way he did?
To even appear there.
Yeah. So it's not right. So we can criticize. I can criticize. Gusu can criticize. I'm saying that the NPP do not have the moral authority.
Yeah, but why do you want to take that away from them? That they don't have the moral authority or moral grounds to even argue that was wrong.
It's not about me taking away from them, because everything you do, you need some legitimacy. Uh-huh. You need the people accepting. Okay. And I'm talking as the people, one of the people. Okay. You understand? Because we are the people. Okay. Beyond we being politicians, we're also the people. And you blame the mood in town. You understand? And people, the feeling in town is that they don't want to listen to the NPP. Because we've seen their governance, we've seen the president, we saw their views when similar things were happening. So if, let's say, it happened last year and I couldn't speak about it, or I did not criticize it, and then it happens today and I come and criticize it, sweetie, how are you going to take it? And that's the biggest problem we are going to face. Having said that, we have been preaching about accountability, but the purpose of that accountability, that culture, is to guarantee for us the rule of law. So in how we pursue and want to hold people accountable, we should not lose fact of the rule of law. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that you want to pursue somebody because you think that wrong has been done to the country does not justify why you should sidestep the rule of law and next principles to this thing. So I'll call the OSP saying that he didn't organize it and that he thought it was staged. You understand? I trust his words. What is probably happening is that the politicians, so certain people within the NDC felt that there's a time probably because we saw Jakpa, the same Jakpa, and so it's for the president to put his foot down. And unlike the MPP, you have the majority leader condemning and apologizing. That is real leadership. You understand? And so let's say if they lose power, he will have the right, the moral right, to criticize when something similar is happening.
Right.
But just to end, so my brother will have his take on it. We are calling for the right political culture because we believe that that's the only way in which we can sustain democracy. And that right political culture will only sustain democracy because that right political culture will sustain for us the rule of law. That's the only way in which the benefits of democracy can be guaranteed. So please, yes, hold people accountable. Let the day of reckoning come, but do not sidestep the rule of law in that agenda.
Thank you. Kwame Nkrumah.
For lack of time, I'll continue from where he ended about the.
So you agree with everything about the NPP not having the moral grounds to even make a counter argument?
You know, when it comes to legal issues,
yeah,
I like to put on my legal cap.
Yes,
and then put everything aside. Going strictly legal, I think they have a right to speak out.
Yes,
they have a right to speak out because as the adage goes, confront any nyayachino. The thief is the one who has been caught. Yeah. We have so many laws.
And they say you are innocent until
exactly. Even if you have bushes in front of your house, it is an offense. You understand me? So if somebody has been found wanting, go through the legal processes. As far as I know, you can only declare somebody wanted or a fugitive if a court of law has issued either an absconding warrant, a bench warrant, or a warrant of arrest. I have not heard that anything like that has been done, unless the OSP Act gives him that powers. As far as I know...
They only said he's a suspect.
He's a suspect.
In those cases.
Exactly. So you cannot declare him if the court has not issued that. And also, I had heard about the minister's health issues, even when they were in power.
Yes.
There were times when he wouldn't appear in Parliament, and apparently he was not feeling well. I've been following the case closely. I believe that eventually he will submit himself. But if apparently he's in a clinic...
Where's that confidence coming from?
Well, he was in the country up till, is it 2nd January? 2nd January. Almost a month after NPP lost the election. I cannot prejudge the case, but I believe that if indeed somebody cannot justify a certain situation to an extent, because in law, you cannot always have somebody being 100% innocent or 100% guilty. There's always an explanation somewhere. That is why you go through. That's why you go through trial. I have heard. I've been following stories. Apparently, he's in one of these big hospitals outside the country. And his lawyers wrote that he's due for some surgery and he'll come after the surgery. And I also heard from other circles that he said he does not know when he will.
That's what the OSP.
Yeah, indefinitely. For the way you was indefinitely.
You know.
And no intention to return to their jurisdiction.
Exactly.
No, that interpretation was by the OSP based on the indefinite that he said.
Yeah.
But now the NPP is also telling us that he had communicated that he will be back, I think in March. Oh, forget March something. No, I don't believe that one.
No, so do you believe I'm
the thing is, I am coming from a totally legal standpoint, putting aside politics and everything. Even in court, if your client is absent, you have to bring a medical report at times. And it's up to the court to either accept the medical report or to do further investigations. If the medical report has been submitted to the OSP, and I don't want to disclose the name of the clinic.
To be frank, he says it is not a report, it is a medical letter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they have the power to do further investigation. The name of the clinic and the country is in the media.
The mayor.
And I know it's a very well-known and well-respected institution who will not try and shield anybody. Right to them. Is this the person's... Of course, medical information, there's a limit to how much you can release. But this is such a delicate topic that if OSP writes to them, is it true? What is his condition? What is the assessment? Just do that. You don't need to come out and, you don't need to come out and be declaring him.
So are you saying, the first question I posed to Appiah Danquah, that the optics of what we are seeing right now, so those who think it's a political witch hunt, are they within their right, based on how everything is unfolding, to think that it's just a political witch hunt?
Regarding that one, I would side with my brother too, because I believe that the OSP, as he said, may have been investigating. may have been investigating. You see, even though I think he was written to 20-something January, we have to be balanced. We have to give them both sides, both the Ofori-Atta side and the OSP side, the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. You see, I'm sure maybe he may have been investigated.
Oh, yeah.
And knowing the stature of Ofori-Atta and the NPP, even some of the NPP parliamentarians, including our own classmate Apia Kubi, Lawyer Apia Kubi, Honorable, tried to have him removed.
Yeah.
And it did not work. Yeah. He's a big fish in the NPP. So the OSP probably balanced wisdom with legality and said, let's see, let me go slowly. I'm just being the devil's advocate here. So let's give both sides the benefit of that, because that is what is done when it comes to legal matters. You don't really prejudge. You look at the best case scenario, the worst case scenario. You put everything together. In the end, everything will unfold. Law is about evidence.
Yeah.
It's about documents. The he said, she said. At the end, when it goes to court, it will not fly.
So, is it witch hunting or it's not witch? It's not witch hunting. So is it witch hunting or it's not witch hunting?
As for witch hunting, as for politics, even internal politics, it happens. In the clamor for power and for people to consolidate their power, they may end up going overboard in pursuing virtuous ventures. If they suspect something untoward, it is good to call him to question. But when it goes overboard, it may look like witch hunting. I would not say it is witch hunting.
Okay, that's fair.
But it is the end in itself is a virtuous end, because we should all be held accountable wherever we are. But the means that is being used makes it look like a witch hunt, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, so the optics of it looks like it is.
It is true.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have, but let's quickly run through just the headlines of your papers and then we go. I have the News Center, the same story. Court discharges Kwesi Nyantakyi. Joe, we didn't get a bite of that. Over number 12 expose, apparently because Anas failed to appear in court. OSP's fugitive tag on Ofori-Atta unreasonable. Internal memo under NPP recommended dropping Dr. Siama charges, according to Dr. Ayeni. And Apenyo Markin supports cholera fight with 100,000 Ghana cedis donation. Stories on the front page of the Ghanaian Publisher.
It says, it's Siama unfit for BOG. Says CDM, charges Mahama to terminate his appointment. And then history will judge NDC, minority slum state-sponsored intimidation. A Futu Traditional Council launches 2025 Abacha. A majority apologizes over attack on Ken Ofori.
Thank you. And then the custodian.
Isama remove new BOG governor, CDM to Mahama. Ayaga apologizes to Ken over house raid. Bawumia speaks at Harvard University today. Minority slums, state-sponsored persecutions.
Okay, thank you. You have something else with you?
That's fine.
Right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Those who joined us, Andrew Apia Dankwa is a legal practitioner and spokesperson for the Movement for Change, Afafranto. We're missing the yellow all over. And then Kwame Nkrumah Botsio is also a legal practitioner and general secretary of the CPP. Please stay, because sports comes up next on the AM show.